Hello, members of the Win Mastery Program. It's Renee. All right. For some reason, this inventory process has added some chaos to the group. And there's part of me that wants to just say the only reason I added it into this 5-week program, which kind of is a 6 weeks because of that in between, was because I noticed people had a lot of limiting beliefs that kept them really stuck from manifesting their lives. And that said, if you're not doing the inventory, you don't need to listen to this, or you might listen to it anyway. But I'm going to go through this process because the way that I've been doing this group seems to not resonate with some people, and I'm sorry about that. Some of the processes of unraveling your vision board, it's intuitive. It's like I gave you an outline, a structure, but it's not A, B, C, D, because you're listening to your internal guidance. Today's the day to do this next part. I thought this year I'd be working with the Southwest, and I learned by the end that I was working with the Southeast. So this is a shamanic program. This is organic. This is ritualistic. This is inviting the winds in to dance with your life. And I don't know that I can make that any more smooth the next time and begin. The other thing is we're wind pioneers. It's not like this program's been laid out by 5 other shamanic teachers and I'm just following through. No, this is that I'm following the guidance of the wind. And as I understand it, I'm sharing it with you. And if there's no other way to teach this or learn this without having a group go through it. And trust me, you guys are being dismembered and having a really amazing processes. So if you're frustrated with me, please put me on your resentment list. Put me at the top of your list of resentment. I am so resentful that Renee doesn't have her shit together. That would be great because it's going to teach you something about how other things in your life have worked. So here are the instructions. And granted, they might have shifted a little bit because of what you are doing, and also that maybe I gave you too much to chunk off of for a 5-week program. So I'm saying cut it back or extend it out a little bit longer. But by all means, if the inventory is challenging you, keep writing. And if you don't write, it's going to get you on your knees to write. So I love the process. I probably will restructure it a little bit for next year's spring class, because I see that it's a lot to do in 5 weeks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer an in-depth inventory process next fall in person, where I'm going to actually even have I'm talking to a PhD psychologist to be there too, because what I'm seeing is people are getting stuck in the murk. People are getting stuck in a lot of the stuff. And when you're doing an inventory, be like Sherlock Holmes. This is a fact-finding mission. I'm sure it's stirring up stuff, but that's not the ultimate goal of the inventory. The ultimate goal of the inventory is to see what happened to you. Yes, because, being molested as a child, that's kind of a drive-by. But there's other parts of what you've done with that drive-by in your life that are your responsibility that you can grow from, and you can actually change your beliefs and start to manifest differently in your life. And I know that's possible because I've done it. I had so many resentments at my mother. When I did this process, I had 125 things that on a daily, monthly, yearly basis, I kept refeeling. And those were the things that kept me from writing a book. Those were the things that kept me from being an employee among employees. Those were the things that kept me from creating abundantly in my life. It was my beliefs about what these things did for me. And I'm not saying that they didn't happen. I'm just saying that we're powerful creators. So the first step was to spend time with your vision boards and see what came up for you, to look at the reoccurring pattern and things that had blocked you and interfered with you from getting what you wanted, whether getting enough money to go to a weekend workshop, or to get out of a job that didn't serve you any longer, or a marriage relationship that was no longer working, or to forgive your mother. For me, one of the biggest things was the inventory process helped me forgive my mother. And that was something that I didn't think I'd ever be able to do. There was times when I felt like when I was in her presence that I was like, I had to crawl out of my skin to be there, and that my family came from outer space. Well, now I have a great relationship with my entire family because I looked at what I believed about what I learned from the experiences that happened to me. And from there, I was able to shift them. So your first assignment was to make a bucket list of a heart, brain, and dump of all the people. And mine started early on when I was in first grade, and my fourth grade teacher who wouldn't let me be in the band. I mean, I had something from sixth grade with the principal. I went back and I did a real thorough dump. And, and it went all the way up to the current relationships that I was in. And so after I did that, I divided it into bucket of times just so I could manage it. And then what I did was I asked you to pick out the top 10, the top 10 that were the most bothersome for you. Okay. And then you were going to say what these people did to you. My mom, she hit me in front of my friends. I was talking to a mentor yesterday. Mom took me to Weight Watchers. Mom didn't let me go to Girl Scout camp. Mom, whatever it was. But then we were narrowing it down to 10 just for the scope of this work. If you want to go back and do the 125, 150 that came up, go ahead. But for this work, I'm even saying do top 3, do 5, do 10, do what makes you feel like that you're going to benefit from that. All right. So then once you do that, you're going to start a sheet of paper for each one. And it's going to see, when I resented my mom for making me go to Weight Watchers, how did it hurt, threaten, or interfere with my beliefs about myself? So I believe my self-esteem, I believe I should have a mom who loves me just as I am. I don't want anyone to see me going into Weight Watchers. I want everyone to accept my ambition. I want everyone to accept me as I am. Security, I need a mom who supports me no matter what. Personal relationships, friends should always accept me exactly as I am. Men should support me no matter what my decisions are, no matter what my weight are. And real women should allow me to eat whatever I want to. Nobody should do anything that ever discourages or diminishes, affects my ability to be me. And so my role here, what is my role? If I'm looking at my friends or my mom taking me to Weight Watchers or anything else, what is my role here? My role is a diminished child, somebody who's not seen for who they really are. And then we look at my fears around this. So what do I believe? That my mom doesn't love me as I am, that people are going to see me going into Weight Watchers, or people are going to see that I'm overweight, that people are not going to accept me for the way I am. So as you see, you go down this list. And for me, like my personal relationships, for men in my life, I believe that all men were gangsters because that was a belief that I had created around some things that had happened to me. So they're personal. They're the beliefs that you work with in your lifetime. And a lot of you are getting caught here in that other part about, what happened to me, the poor me, or not even the poor me, but really bringing up, undoing some wounding. And the whole point of this exercise is to get to this final sheet. And so far, only a couple of people have gotten there. And this is the part that you get to get really clear on what you did with that information. So when I resented my mom for dragging me to Weight Watchers, was this event true? It was true. But where was I being selfish? Well, I was being selfish, for example, that I didn't believe that my mother was concerned about my health. And so I was self-seeking because I was eating anyway. I was sneaking food. I wasn't being honest. I was dishonest because I would tell her that I was doing the program and I'd turn around and I would be lying. I'd have donuts in my drawers. What was I afraid of? I was afraid that I wasn't going to get to do exactly what I wanted every single time, that I wasn't going to get to eat whatever I wanted. Where was I to blame? Well, I was a little bit to blame that somehow that I took her concern for my weight as as that she didn't care about me, instead of that she really cared about me and wanted me to be healthier. What harm did I cause to this person? Well, in this particular case, I shut my mother out. I emotionally closed her out. I probably denigrated her spiritually by telling other people about how awful my mother was. You know, in physical harm, well, when she was aging, and this is just an example, when my mother's still alive, when she was aging, I left her alone, you know, and didn't really care about the food she was eating. And so, you know, I really caused harm to my mother because I believed that her taking me to Weight Watchers when I was an obese child had to do with her not loving me for who I was, instead of her caring about me as a youngster who needed to get some exercise and needed to eat better. So I twisted it all around and made this the mode of operation in my life, that I could never eat, I could never satiate that need enough to get my mother to love me. So I always overate, and I became quite obese because my belief, which was that my mom, if she loved me, she would have let me eat whatever I want, or she wouldn't have dragged me to Weight Watchers. There was something a little bit off in the belief. And so that's what this inventory is about, because this whole East work is about new beliefs and new beginnings. And if we're stuck with an old pattern, an old belief, we're never going to manifest the money, the love, the book, whatever it is that we think that we deserve, but we're fighting against ourselves with the beliefs. So that's what the purpose of the inventory is. And if you can get really clear on yourself in 1, 2, 5, maybe it's going to take you all 10 before you really get to see the role that you play over and over and over again in your life. And generally they boil down to a few things. Like mostly my fears boil down to that I was just going to have to work myself to death, that I was never going to get the fame that I wanted, and they were just all based on some old erroneous beliefs that began very early in my life that I carried and manipulated. For example, one more I'll give you quick is, here's the cat, like right in the middle of it. You should see her. She's like in the middle of this. Can you see her? Here, Sami's taking over the computer. She says, enough with this. And it is enough with this. So for me, she is too funny. She's like sitting right here looking at me. That's too funny. I wish you could see it. I'll take a picture so you can see it later. So the truth of the matter is for me, one of my biggest beliefs was that around my dad, that he didn't give me what I needed. He was always late. And what I got to see when I got to the fourth part of that inventory was that, what did I do with that? For me, he was abusive. He was not there. Those are the facts. But what did I do with it? Well, I took all the money he ever gave me early in my life and I spent it on drugs and alcohol in an attempt to prove to him that I didn't need him. So then when he had a massive stroke and I still was angry at him, I realized, well, I better start using this money in a better way. And actually, by the time that I went through this entire inventory process, I went to my dad's grave and I cried because I realized that my father had died when I was 33 years old, and he was going to never get to see the person that I became as I healed from those predispositions to behave in a certain way. Now, let's just get this really clear. The molestation I had as a child, that's true. But what I did to men with it afterwards was like, men had to prove to me that they were gangsters or whatever it was that I made up about them, that there was no man who could ever show up good enough in my life. So I had employees that I would beat to the core because I was angry at my dad. So though these resentments can fuel us in unconscious ways if we don't bring them to the surface. Again, perhaps I might not have added this to the middle of this program because just dismantling, just dismembering the vision board is a lot. So a lot of you aren't doing the inventory, and that's perfectly fine. I am going to be doing a whole weekend process on inventory work. We'll probably do a little bit of it at Omega, and it's important work. If you're going to be a leader, a teacher, you need to clear out and understand what is running the show. And as you learn what's running the show, you're going to get to see that a lot of them are false beliefs that you still source from. All right. I hope that's helpful. And we'll talk a little bit more about this on Wednesday. But I want you to know that the work this week was to dismantle your vision board so you come down with one quadrant that you're going to work on, and maybe take a look at a few of these beliefs that keep you stuck from really that have gotten you stuck over and over and over and again in your life. And the best way to know that they are is things you keep refeeling. Okay, that's it. All right, enough, huh? Enough with you, you say? Enough. You're right on my computer, silly.